We begin tonight with an NBC3 exclusive. Good evening, I'm Matt Mulcahy.
And I'm Megan Coleman. More than 20 years after his arrest, Gary Thibodeau fights what's killing him to maintain his innocence.
Thibodeau is serving 25 to life, convicted in the Heidi Allen kidnapping case, where there was no physical evidence or witnesses directly connecting him to the crime.
The kidnapping of 18-year-old Heidi Allen instantly grabbed attention in the Oswego County community and beyond. The posters went up. There was a thirst to find whoever was responsible for her disappearance without a trace.
She disappeared from the D&W convenience store Easter Sunday, April of 1994. 2 months later, Richard Thibodeau was arrested. Several weeks after that, the other Thibodeau brother, Gary, was arrested. The current Oswego County District Attorney still maintains investigators got the right man. Two brothers accused.
Guilty.
One convicted. 24 years after Heidi Allen disappeared, both Gary and Richard Thibodeau insist they had nothing to do with her abduction.
Well, they told me they arrested me for the kidnapping of Heidi Allen. I said, you guys are crazy. I said, I didn't kidnap Heidi Allen.
You all know goddamn well I had nothing to do with this.
What do you think happened on Easter Sunday in 1994?
Again, I have to be somewhat careful in how I respond to this, Matt, because Richard Thibodeau has been acquitted of the charge, and as a matter of law, he's presumed innocent. But I believe the basic facts that are set forth during Gary Thibodeau's trial are still accurate today. Again, I do believe that Gary Thibodeau is responsible for the kidnapping and presumed death of Heidi Allen. And again, for legal reasons, I can't implicate other people, but I do believe Gary Thibodeau was involved and knows ultimately what happened to her.
District Attorney Gregory Oakes was only a year older than Heidi Allen when she vanished without a trace. He has picked up the case on this latest round of appeals, familiarizing through files and statements. What do you think Gary Thibodeau did then that morning?
And I think Gary Thibodeau was at the D&W store and working with another person helped abduct Heidi Allen and then took her back to either his home or another location. And again, it's unclear exactly what happened to her. He made statements to the other inmates in the jail indicating that he had killed her, or suggesting what had happened to her with her demise. But again, I don't know exactly what the particulars were, but I do believe he's responsible for her death.
They wanted to take my van that evening. I said, yeah, you can take my van, you can go through it, you can do whatever you want. I said, I haven't got nothing to hide. I didn't do anything anyway.
The FBI assisted local police with the search of the van. They found nothing. No sign of struggle, blood, hair, or fingerprints. How come you didn't find anything in Richard Thibodeau's van then?
Well, one of the interesting questions is, when they looked at it is, they talked about the absence of fingerprints and DNA and hair fibers kind of across the board, not just relating to Heidi Allen. If you were to go to my vehicle right now that's used and traveled in, you're probably going to find fingerprints, DNA from other people, hair fibers from my kids. The question is, it would be unusual to find any person's vehicle to find a complete absence of any of those things. So the fact that there was a complete absence indicates to me that somebody was cleaning it and maybe taking special efforts to make sure that those types of things weren't found.
Even after Central New York saw the shock felt by Gary Thibodeau when he heard the verdict, the prosecution had not answered the question why. Why would he kidnap Heidi Allen? Do you have an answer to why the Thibodeaus would have, or Gary Thibodeau specifically, would have done this?
And I don't have a clear answer as to why. Unfortunately, to look into the mind of somebody who would commit this kind of crime, it's unclear. There's no logical reason that's sufficient as to why they would commit this. But if there's evidence or information that would point to his innocence, I'm more than willing to look at it, reconsider the new evidence, if it points in a different direction.
So Oswego County's prosecutor has continued to defend the 23-year-old conviction. What if the state's highest court does rule in favor of the ailing inmate, Gary Thibodeau?
But if the court were to change its opinion and find that he's entitled to a new trial, we would have to look at that. I don't believe we would have a right to appeal that second decision because it came out of re-argument. But then we would have to look at the case carefully to see whether we would retry the case. Of course, the court hasn't got there yet. Now, you saw Gary Thibodeau at the top of the story denying any involvement in the Heidi Allen kidnapping. Well, we've just obtained this polygraph report that was prepared in 1996.
That was just a year after Thibodeau had started serving that state prison term. He was in Attica at the time, and he was asked these questions. Do you know who's responsible for Heidi Allen's disappearance? No. Did you take part in Heidi Allen's disappearance? No. Did you personally see Heidi Allen on April 3rd, 1994? No. Do you personally know where Heidi Allen is? No. Did you ever brag to any inmate that you were responsible for Heidi Allen's disappearance? No. The polygraphist, which is what they're called, said there's no significant reaction to the above questions that are indicating deception. In other words, they think he was telling the truth.
Do we have a sense from the court as to when they might make a ruling?
We don't yet. It's up to the court to decide whether they're going to hear the re-argument, and then it could be weeks or even months before that takes place.
Okay.
You can watch all these stories and read an in-depth article on our visit to Gary Thibodeau in prison by going to our website, cnycentral.com.